Okay. City, there's the issue of impunity that you talked about that is covered in the Star today. And ICJ Kenya is saying, you know what, this could happen and this could embolden other officers. So we want to talk about that. The Acting Inspector General of Police, Gilbert Masengeli, did not appear in court as summoned by court. Yeah. Not once, not twice, not three times. And now the courts are like, you know now, tunafika mahali. And one of the people who has been very vocal about this is Nelson Havi. He is the former president of the Law Society of Kenya, or he likes to say the 49th president of the Law Society of Kenya. He's our guest this morning. Nelson, hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you. How are you doing?
I'm great.
Generally.
Well, I'd taken retirement, having served for almost 21 years in active combat. But the current situation demands that I don the uniform and come and fight these atrocities. I'm now back.
So explain this uniform.
Yes.
Tell us what's the inspiration behind the uniform?
This is the struggle by Fidel Castro,
Yeah.
a distinguished lawyer, a distinguished communist, and a man who changed the world. We follow after him.
All right. City.
Here's the point. Che Guevara also used to don on.
Same.
Same. The only thing that Honorable Comrade here now needs is a beret.
Bas.
I have a beret, but it tends to interfere with my silver
With the
hair.
hairdo.
Yes.
All right. All right.
My hair
Okay.
is a trademark.
Okay.
But I tried it in the morning. I said no.
He wants a silver too. People must
Enough
see the
said, but
silver.
no. I apologize for being brought in.
Then you can do the thing that they do, fold a beret and then put it here.
There's that little detail.
Yeah, that's that bit. So
Yeah,
people can still see.
that's for soldiers who are in active combat.
Like you.
But you just said you've come back.
I'm retired, but I've come back
Okay.
as a constabulary.
Yeah.
Officer Mzee.
Sawa. City,
Yes.
give him the day's proverb.
Well, our proverbs for the whole of this week are from the Federal Republic of Somalia. This particular proverb is something I actually like. I like it because it puzzles me. And it makes my mind go in all manner of directions. These youth taught their mothers to give birth.
These youth taught their mothers to give birth. The end. That's it.
Kwesa.
That's the proverb.
Kwesa.
Does that sound like a proverb to you, Nelson?
Yes, it sounds like a Ndumakuwele proverb, because if the youth are teaching their mothers to give birth, well, intriguingly so. So the first time you do it, then you continue doing it. So that is the teaching. Entirely true.
So what does it mean? What are they saying, the Somalis? Do it once, you learn. Do it again,
Yes,
you get
continuously. That's why Somalis have so many children. The mothers have been taught by their children to give birth.
By the way, is that not an interesting twist? I hadn't seen it.
better. Yeah.
When you give birth to a child, that process is what teaches you how you can then have more children.
Exactly.
See, I was always, what puzzled me was the view, how does a child teach their mother how to give birth?
Yes.
How? Shouldn't it be the other way around?
The other way around.
Yeah, but when you put it that way, yes.
You learn, gain more and more experience.
That's why we have silver hair.
Bas.
And,
Bas.
Excellent.
Nelson, you are not happy with the Acting Inspector General of Police.
I'm disappointed not just with the Inspector General of National Police Service, but the entire administration. Because you see, the Inspector General of National Police Service is first a servant of the people. And who are the people? We are the people. We elect a government at the executive level, and that we expect the government at the executive level to implement the laws and the policies of this country. And at the legislature, we expect parliamentarians to oversight the executive. How did we end up with somebody like Gilbert Masengeli as acting Inspector General of the National Police Service? An individual who is clueless, got no idea what his job description is, cannot prioritize key assignments that are significant to his office. But over and above that, the question lingers, which must be asked. Is there a deliberate attempt to have individuals in office who do not have the wherewithal, the competence and ability to do their work, so that the entire office is compromised, the entire nation is compromised? This is quite saddening. It is not just limited to that office. It appears to be, there are many other offices in Kenya that have people who do not know what their work is. Why? Is it deliberate? It is catastrophic. And coming back to this issue of Masengeli, we have 3 Kenyans who have been disappeared. And when asked to come to court to explain their whereabouts or any efforts taken by the state to trace them, he says he's otherwise engaged in matters of great national importance. And when you interrogate the matters of great national importance, they are showbiz. He's attending a concert, he's going to inspect a project in Kwale. It's saddening. It's saddening. And this must sadden Kenyans.
You know, it's not the first time that we're seeing a police boss disobeying court summonses. Even in the previous administration, we saw the same.
Yes.
Not once when the IG of police or the DCI boss would not appear in court. Not once. In fact, the former DCI boss was even committed to jail, right?
Yes, you're right.
So this is something that has continued. What does it speak of? Does it speak of a weak accountability mechanism at the highest levels of the police service? Who does the IG report to? Does it report to the commission, or does it report to the cabinet secretary or to the president? Who's the immediate supervisor of the IG of police, independent as he may be?
The National Police Service is the employer of the Inspector General of the National Police. But as I said before, this is a state office. Whoever takes that office swears to uphold the Constitution. And much as there's a hierarchy of responsibilities and reporting, it does not derogate from the command that he holds a state office.
Yeah.
So let's go up. Inspector General of National Police will report to the PS Interior, will report to the CS Interior, and will eventually report to the President.
Yep.
The buck stops with the President. That is a direct answer, if I may give you. But let's go back again and interrogate this thing. Because when I started, I said there could be a deliberate attempt to have individuals who do not know what their work is. And you spoke about certain senior police officers who were found to have contravened the Constitution, disobeyed court orders. You may have failed to notice that one of those was Joseph Boynet, the former Inspector General of the National Police Service.
Yep.
Have you seen him lately? You haven't seen him? He is actively involved in the work of the National Police Service. We do not know what his role is, but we see him.
And why he's so present?
He's always present in meetings of the National Police Service.
Who?
Joseph Boynet, the former
IG.
Yes. So we have incompetent fellows, faceless characters like Gilbert Masengeli. But behind them, we still have the Boynets who have perpetuated these violations for a long period of time. And as we speak...
There were 2 Boynets. Which one?
Boynet,
IG.
the immediate former Inspector General of the National Police Service, the one who preceded...
Not the intelligence guy. Just come closer.
Yeah.
Yes.
The one who preceded...
The guy who always seemed to have an ill-fitting hat.
Oh, okay.
No.
We could go with that.
That's Mr. Sigei, not the one with the ill-fitting hat. Oh, the diminutive policeman.
Yes, that was Boynet, was he not?
Yes, that's Boynet, Joseph Boynet.
Yes.
Yeah. Immediately before Hillary...
You always got the impression that he had borrowed that hat
Hillary.
from someone, and then it wasn't fitting very well, yes.
Yeah.
What would that portend, though, Havi? If we're saying that it would appear as though the immediate former IG of police is present in present dealings of the NPS. What would that mean, and how would that then influence or affect the current state of things that we are seeing today?
It means 2 things. Disregard of the rule of law, because what office does he hold? In the police service, they are designated officers. You understand? There is a probability that he's an advisor. Officers that courts have said have no basis in the current dispensation. But more importantly, these are the minds behind what is happening. And I believe if Gilbert Masengeli was to come to court, the most logical answer, he will say that he doesn't know what is happening. Because what is happening from behind.
Okay.
And we're able to trace what is happening to certain individuals.
Okay.
And I believe Joseph Boynat is one of them.
So where we are today is that the acting Inspector General of Police has been summoned by court.
Yes.
And failed to appear a total of 7 times, right? And the answers that are being sought from him are essentially the whereabouts or the details surrounding the disappearance of these individuals.
Yes.
Where did they go? Who took them? What has happened to them? Are they alive? If they're dead, whose fault was it? Kind of thing. He's failed to appear before court. From a legal point of view, one would assume that it doesn't matter who you are or what position you hold in Kenya, that if the court then summons you to come and give an explanation, that you're duty bound to do so. Is it not?
Yes, you're right.
Okay. What does it mean then when an individual, in whatever capacity they serve, then refuses to appear for a record 7 times? What does that mean from your point of view?
Well, the starting point, and from my legal perspective, this is contempt of court. It's disobedience of a court order. The disobedience of a court order is a transgression that requires the highest sanction, punishment. But over and above punishment, it requires greater reorganization in the manner things are done. And it has been my harp song that the people of Kenya, either directly or through their representatives, being parliament, must take deliberate steps to ensure that those who disobey court orders, those who do not uphold the Constitution, are dealt with. And I say so advisedly, because the court has performed its role. Take, for instance, what has happened to previous disobedience of court orders, where the court declares that one has violated the Constitution, he or she will be fined. What ought to follow next is the removal from office of such an individual. And then when that individual has been removed from the office, he or she needs to be declared unsuitable to hold any public office, elective or appointive. But what happens? We see these people, as soon as declarations are made, they go home and hold homecoming. In fact, it's only in Kenya that criminals hold homecoming parties. And then after they've held their homecoming parties, they declare they want to run for member of National Assembly, they want to run for Senate, they want to run for governor, and even certain fellows declare that they want to run for president. And then people will cheer.
I want to hold you on that just a little bit because we know what the law prescribes, we know what is suggested, and we know what should actually hold fast according to the Constitution. But there do seem to be suggestions that it's just, something that's a puff of smoke in the air, it's inhaled and then it's gone, like morning mist at noon. We know, he's not the first one, for example, that sits in a position that heads a security agency who's been called and summoned by court and has failed to show up. Former DCI boss, the same thing. And I think that the sentence that was preferred upon him was 4 months in jail and something like that.
Yep.
Did he ever serve them? Did he pay a fine? It's a suggestion that if you don't obey court orders, that 1, 2, 3 will be done to you. And then you talk about the relevant bodies then that should actually make sure something is done. Ensure that you do not, or you ensure that you vacate office, ensure that you do not hold a position appointed or elected, ensure that certain things. But these seem to be suggestions that, it's drama at the moment. Friday is in 2 days. What will the court say? Will they sentence Masengeli to time in prison, or will they jail him, or will they fine him? It just seems like it's a joke, and for me it seems like the ultimate travesty of justice, that we just say, okay, it's fanfare and we're watching it play out in the public arena, but nothing is going to be done. So why do we waste the time doing it and still put the responsibility upon Parliament to suggest these moves for the future? Why?
Well, what has happened before has happened. It should inform us on what should happen today and tomorrow. We are very deliberate as the legal fraternity. What we propose to do is on Friday, after Gilbert Masengeli has been sentenced, irrespective of the nature of the sentence, will move to have him removed as a senior police officer and as a police officer for that matter. Let him be stripped of the protection that he has in the uniform of a police officer. And after he's been removed, we will take deliberate action to prosecute him personally for the disappearance of these three. And you see, as we speak right now, we do not know their whereabouts. We do not know whether they are alive or dead. But you see, the right to life given under the Constitution must be given full effect, so that after we have stripped him, we will sue him personally. Let us have reprieve against him so that we can have him as a lasting example to the rest. And that is the only way to remedy the past conduct, where court orders have been treated, in your words, as suggestions. It should not be repeated.
So you feel that this will serve as a deterrent?
Yes.
But then let's go through that process, that you seek to have him removed from serving as a police officer.
Yes.
At all, to be fired. So who do you make this application to?
He was hired by the National Police Service.
Okay. So the petition is to the National Police Service.
Yes.
To dismiss senior officer Gilbert Masengeli. Yes. What would the process look like?
It's never been done before, but the fact that it's never been done for...
What do you anticipate? Is there a procedure laid in
law? We'll
law?
originate a petition, yes, for gross misconduct and violation of the Constitution.
I hear you, and I get what you're saying. What I'm trying to bring here is it likely to bear fruit? And what are the safeguards that you have in place to make sure that this process actually moves? Because you see, we have 7 court summonses not honored by an Inspector General of Police. He is not the first one. All Inspector Generals of Police have not honored court summonses. All of them, since the first time we had an IG of Police after the new Constitution. There have been a court summons, not appeared maybe later, not appeared the next time, appeared another time with an explanation, or so on and so forth. DCIs have also done the same. Committed to jail, not gone to jail, not arrested. Senior officers have disobeyed court orders. Not happened. The National Police Service, which is their employer, has never taken action against any of these officers.
Eric Latiff, you say...
What are the safeguards that you
of the few
want to put in
determined
place?
Kenyans, I'm one person who has removed a judge from office. I commenced the removal of a director of public prosecution from office. He had to resign before I removed him. So when I say I've embarked this horse to that direction, the horse will verily reach there. I do not know what tomorrow comes with, but I know my determination to push this thing is a serious determination. It doesn't matter that it hasn't happened before. It will happen. Masengeli will never hold public office, elective or appointive, for as long as we are determined to do this thing. And we must do this. We must put away the reservations that have prevailed hitherto. Because it's a serious matter. It's a serious matter because we have 3 Kenyans, innocent Kenyans, who have been disappeared in a dispensation that said there will be no more abductions, there will be no more kidnappings, there will be no more extrajudicial killings, there will be no more enforced disappearances. In a dispensation that tells us we are not aware of any individuals who have been disappeared. We are not aware of any individuals who have been kidnapped, killed. Yet, we have about 250 bodies at the city mortuary unaccounted for. Doesn't it accrue? Yeah, it should. And the very fact that we have 250 unaccounted for bodies must tell you that the claim that there have been abductions, kidnappings, extrajudicial killings, and enforced disappearances is a valid claim. And it must be pursued to the very end.
You know, what you say is encouraging, it is uplifting, but what we are talking about here does not exist in a vacuum. We have an ecosystem that has been created in this country and has been enhanced since this government came into being, where it appears that the likelihood of anything happening to someone who has blatantly broken the law or who has even been found guilty by a court, that the laws that state, or the details of the law that state what will happen to such an individual are completely ignored. The ecosystem is what I'm referring to here, not the individual. This individual can perpetrate the law. He can do what he's doing because the ecosystem permits it. He knows. He believes he knows. He understands that nothing will happen to him because the ecosystem permits it. How do you explain a situation where someone is a member of parliament, he is found guilty, sentenced. There's an appeal. We had the Chief Justice sitting there, and I asked this question. I said, Madam Chief Justice, I need to understand. If I am found guilty today and have appealed, am I guilty or is that guilt suspended? Her response was, you are guilty until proved otherwise. That was her response. You find individuals serving in parliament, and that is hanging over their heads. You have individuals whose cases were dropped after they'd been appointed to high offices in this country. But at the time of appointment, they had this word hanging over their heads. People who by our laws should never, ever have even approached those offices. But they held those offices. Some still hold those offices. Very sensitive offices. It's an ecosystem. And that ecosystem exists. And that ecosystem fosters what we are seeing. Because in the absence of that ecosystem, I doubt if Mr. Masengeli, because this man is an educated fellow. He is not just your run-of-the-mill policeman who didn't quite finish school and had to be found something to do. No. This gentleman has actually gone to school. He's even currently pursuing a PhD. So in terms of book learning and academic, he is not an uninformed fellow. So I have to ask, what is it that would make a person be so bold? So bold? It is the ecosystem. He is not the problem, he is the symptom.
Okay. Yes, Elder, you've aptly depicted the picture. I'll give you an analogy, then proceed to discuss the issue. There is a zebra that has been attacked by a lion, put down. And ordinarily in the ecosystem of the zebras, they don't do anything. In fact, they will come, run away, or if they come close, they will display their helplessness. There is a clip of a zebra just that decided to bite the lion. Unorthodox. And you see, until then, the lion was very comfortable because it knew the zebras will not do anything. The lion took off and left the zebra. You understand? So we are in this ecosystem of helplessness. But are we helpless? We are not helpless.
No, we are not helpless.
So we must seize the power that is within our ability to utilize and act. And that is why I've said the people directly. And the people have done this before. The power of arrest. The people have the power to arrest Gilbert Masengeli wheresoever found and bring him to court. Or if a sentence has already been meted on him, take him to
prison.
Look, we do not want to fall back and apply medieval tactics. But human beings have lived in times where the citizens have executed kings, presidents, emperors. It has happened. We have lived in times where the people have arrested the kings and the presidents and tried them in the public square and jailed them is because those people understood there is need to deal with what Elder calls the ecosystem. We must deal with the ecosystem now.
Very good.
And the starting point is Gilbert Masengeli.
Nelson Havi, the 49th president of the Law Society of Kenya, is our guest. He's among those that have gone to court and have said, Your Honor, this man deserves severe punishment for disobeying court orders. Who's the man? The Acting Inspector General of Police, Gilbert Masengeli. And so he invited him today to talk about this impunity that's in the system and how to deal with it. It's like Siti was saying, it's a systemic issue. We have had the IGs of police who have disobeyed court orders. We have seen government officials disobeying court orders. We have seen so many of these cases going on. And those that they respond to, that they answer to, the immediate supervisors, the Police Service Commission, the PS and CS and the President, like you've said, never taken action against any of the other officers previously. When Kinoti was sentenced to serve 4 months in prison, not even the President spoke or said anything about it. Here we have an Inspector General of Police who has not appeared in court 7 times in an administration where the words that are said by the head of the administration, the president, are that we are an administration that obeys law and order. But a senior member of the institution that is supposed to enforce law and order is disobeying law and order. It doesn't happen. How do we deal with the system? Even if you use Masengeli as a case study.
Latiff, the system is broken. And from the example that we used, we just need a few of us to effectuate the repair of the system. You know, when we speak here, people think that we speak in a case of isolation. A senior police officer has just reminded me right now that we have a designated Inspector General of National Police Service who is 60 years old. Yet the retirement age of a public servant and a police officer for that matter is 60 years old. And this Kanja was appointed by the president with the advice of the National Police Service. And I don't think these people are gullible. As Elder said, they are well learned. Everybody in the list that I've enumerated. And then Parliament has approved the appointment of Kanja. It is what is called turning logic over its head. And however much we may not want to perceive this issue in the manner in which we are depicting it here, the 4 of us, that is the reality of the matter.
Yep.
The problem rests with 3 individuals. 1, we the people. Because I know we the people will hold a homecoming for Kanja after he takes oath of office as Inspector General of National Police, knowing very well that he's unqualified for appointment. 2, the executive, and the president for that matter. And the president is a very learned person, is my good friend. How does he make such a catastrophic mistake? And then 3rd, the parliament, we, the people represented, approve this. Yet it is the mandate of we, the people represented in parliament, to oversight the executive. There is something wrong. Solution? We must start afresh. And starting afresh entails recreating the representation, that is parliament, so that we have a parliament that is competent, capable, and able to do that we, the people, have given it to do in a representative capacity. Because there's been failure. And I'll be very deliberate and honest. There is no chief executive of any country, however democratic that country is, will want to obey the law. All presidents worldwide do not obey the law. Richard Nixon, a distinguished lawyer himself, when asked by his Attorney General, Mr. President, what shall we do about Watergate? Said, but Bob, I thought the president was above the law. They always think they are above the law. And you see, this is how they are oriented. But it's incumbent upon Parliament and the judiciary to do its work, and fundamentally the people. Insofar as the obedience of court orders is concerned, upholding the Constitution, the judiciary has done a fundamental job. It has executed its mandate to fruition. What is outstanding rests with two corners. One is Parliament, and two, the people.
I think the question,
the four of us.
Yeah. I think the question of the how then comes into play here, because I think that's really then what before there's a lot of thought later that you say, okay, yes, we see that there's something wrong here, and we see that it is clearly not to the satisfaction of the people. But then you want to ask yourself, how do we go about it? And that people without options in terms of the know-how then become sometimes a restless bunch. Because you know that you're dissatisfied with the status quo. You know that something needs to be done about it. But they're not sure. Do we coalesce and say, okay, let's do, what do you do? Do you march the Vigilant House? What do you do? Do you put a petition through to the courts? The how usually comes out and people say, okay, so what do we do? That action that would essentially set precedent for the future, taking that first step is a difficult one, because you're not quite sure what it is that ought to happen.
No. We learn best from animals. So the example I gave you. Mm-hmm. The zebras outmaneuvered the lion in a precedent-setting encounter. But again, the lion will still come, because this does not happen all the time.
And he must eat.
Yeah. Look at what happened on the 25th of June, when the people occupied Parliament. The government was subdued. The president came out in rage just to realize the following day that the people have power, and he had to back off and reject the finance bill. But what did he do? Exactly what the lion will do. Lay siege, connivingly, and attack. How was it done? Government, broad-based government. Okay, disperse them, pick a few of them, bring them together. Then the people forget.
Yeah.
The very same people who were complaining were attending the homecomings for these rascals who had been appointed as cabinet secretaries. How? So, eternal vigilance is the key word. You must remember that this contract that is called government, the contract between the people and the governors, there must be eternal vigilance. And going back to this issue of Masengeli, we must not let it go the way of Boynet, the way of Kinoti, and the way of Matiang'i. We must pursue it to completion. And this cannot be the pursuit of the Law Society of Kenya alone. It cannot be the pursuit of Nelson Havi. It cannot be the pursuit of President Faith Odhiambo alone. It must concern all of us. Because all of us are vulnerable. And to ensure that Kenya continues being a constitutional democracy that we created through the 2010 Constitution, we must hold these individuals account. We must deal with Masengeli, we must deal with the PS Interior, we must deal with the CS Interior, and if need be, we must deal with the President. Because he is the one who took oath of office to protect the Constitution, to protect the people of Kenya.
There's something that often happens. I've mentioned it before and I want to repeat it. It is an aspect of psychological conditioning that was made known by someone called Pavlov.
The Russian.
Yes. How it is you can create a habit born out of repetition. So the mind and the brain anticipates it. The ecosystem I spoke of, and why someone like Masengeli is merely a tool. He is not really a big fish. When you are in a position where you are given orders, and it is clear it must be a very high authority, and it isn't one individual, it's several individuals, the ecosystem I speak of. Someone is emboldened beyond reason. You wonder, why is this person so bold? Why is it that they don't seem to care? Why is it that they think they can get away with it? Actually, they don't think they know. Now, so long as we have a situation where people in political authority use the police service and individuals within the police service to serve their end, I do not think there's anybody who is more aware of the wrongs than somebody who is a police person. They know. They are acutely aware of what is wrong. Even when they perpetrate it, they know it is wrong. Now, when you've created a system where each of these groups feed off each other, they form a cabal that is very, very tight. And part of what the glue that binds them is the fact that they all know that they've perpetrated wrong.
Yes.
And you will find that they also have individuals whom they co-opt probably within the judiciary for this thing to work effectively. So here you have a situation where we can see where the problem is. But where it all starts is the knowledge that if somebody gives you instructions and you know that what you're being told is wrong, that person is your partner in crime and you know it. They know it, you know it. So that person's motivation to protect this person is immense. Because should someone like Gilbert Masengeli decide, no, him is actually going to court and is going to say what he knows, can you imagine what would happen? Can you imagine just the sort of seismic activity that we'd suddenly see? Do you remember when the late Dr. Robert Okoh was killed?
Yes.
And the then Permanent Secretary for Interior, decided that him is going to spill the beans. That court process was completely aborted, was it not?
You're right. They even killed the judge.
Oyugi himself didn't live very long after that. Yes. The point I'm trying to make is this. It was unprecedented. He would know that was not something that the state was going to allow to happen. Okay? What we are seeing is a tip of the iceberg. Somebody who's been in the police service for 35 years and even worked in special units. How much do you think this guy knows?
A lot.
Precisely.
And Elder, picking from where you've just left, it is imperative that we underscore the need for a few people to do the right thing.
Yes.
And one of the few people, because you said the co-opting entails many other players, including even players in the judiciary.
Yes.
That's why Justice Lawrence Mugambi was bold enough to tell us in court that there was an attempt to reach him by Lazarus Opicho, a senior police officer tasked previously with the protection of judges. You understand? And this is very intriguing and it's very relevant because they wanted to co-opt Lawrence Mugambi in their enterprise, either to entice him to see the need not to compel Gilbert Masengeli to comply with the court order, or to coerce and threaten him to draw back. You understand? But the judge was bold enough to say, no, these attempts will not yield fruit. And for that reason, I order you, Lazarus Opicho, to appear before me on Friday to show why you are interfering with the course of justice. One judge is all that we need to do this thing right. One policeman is all that we need to do this thing right. One Kenyan, one member of the National Assembly. You know, during Moi's time, where did these four individuals, I've talked about them, the four bearded sisters, and they dared Moi. They spoke. Unheard of, because they knew the logical consequence of daring Moi, you will find yourself on a table at City Mortuary. But because they knew they had to do it for the people of Kenya, they did it. Why is it that now we have a transformative constitution, the very best protection, and these people in parliament don't do nothing? You get it? There is a problem. One person, 2, 3, 4 are enough. You don't need a multitude, a few.
When you've been enticed and you've been captured by the very glue that holds these people together, we have a parliament that has long been established, was captured. It's not even...
It's effeminate. It's been emasculated.
It's something that is not even subject to debate. No. If we say effeminate, we'll be insulting.
Oh, sorry. It's been emasculated.
Yes. Say that. What they do is in the public domain, we see it. And if there is a group of people who are compromised, it's them. In fact, they've introduced new levels of compromise. Because you make decisions that not disempowers, but helps to destroy the lives of the very people who put you in those positions.
Exactly.
The people who you're supposed to represent.
You break the trust of the people.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So when you see all this connectivity, the very discussion we're having here would not take place if Parliament was doing what they're supposed to do.
Yes.
Because some of these individuals would not have the jobs they have.
Indeed.
Who compels Parliament, even looking from a legal point of view? Who compels Parliament to essentially do what it's supposed to do?
We
do.
the people.
Mm-hmm.
And on the 25th of June, we did it. Mm-hmm. You understand? But we withdrew because we forgot that our power can outmaneuver the lion. Mm. But permit me to continue using this example. Mm-hmm. A lion cannot defeat 20 zebras. It's as simple as that. It's only that the zebras are conditioned to think that the lion is superior. We, the people, can never be inferior because we designated and constituted the state. The state is our delegate. So the state must always do what the people want. But it will not do that unless the people are eternally vigilant.
What I find tragic, though, is that this became very apparent in President Uhuru's time because of a certain duality of perspective. On the one hand, when a political leadership, have a people who are patient and seem to give you time, you take them for granted and you think you can meet all manner of injustices on that particular people.
Yes.
But on the other hand, we saw with President Uhuru, when you have a president who seems patient and can absorb insult and can take disrespect, you suddenly think this particular president is weak. Now, this conditioning that we speak of, that is why I brought in Pavlov, because we seem to have allowed ourselves to be conditioned thus. Conditioning takes place when someone sees benefit. Or when one assumes there will be benefit coming to you. It works better. Even when you assume there will be harm, yes, it will work because you want to avoid the harm. But in our case, even as we, the sovereign, are who we are, this is something Eric has been saying, not for months, for years.
Yeah.
We are complicit. Because we are the ones who embolden these individuals. And we embolden not by what we do, but by our inaction. Because we are inert, it is then assumed that they can continue doing what they do.
What they want.
Yeah. And Elder, you're right. Because you see, the conditioning is intended to instill fear on us. And that famous example you've given also has another aspect to it. How do you react to fear? You either take flight or you fight.
Yep.
So the choice is ours. Do we need to take flight or do we fight? To where shall we take flight to?
Do you
Nowhere.
think,
we must fight.
So, Nelson, do you think that there's a fear that's resident in the hearts and minds of Kenyans to see that there's something that's going wrong, to understand that the role of Parliament is a representative one for you, the people, but to still say that, look, like what is at the heart of this matter that we discussed with Masengeli is that 3 individuals have been disappeared for whatever reason. They may have spoken up, they may have acted, they may have information that somebody doesn't want to get out. So folks would feel that they would find themselves in the same position as the 3 disappeared. And so for that fear, they say, well, you know what? Maybe I'm just going to watch how it plays out and not bite the lion.
Now, look, nobody will get out of this life alive. Huh? So the fear of death is a stupid thing. You will die either way.
Anyway.
Yeah. So for myself, I'm unafraid of the fear of death, be it natural or caused by man. And that must be the propelling cause for anybody determined to fight for the people. You understand? They will kill you anyway if they want to kill you. But let it be that you've done what has to be done. You understand? Look at the Kwara incidents. You understand? The state killed people and dumped them there. Volunteers went there to retrieve the bodies. Fear is being instilled on them.
But Nelson, do we have evidence that...
No, listen, Elder. At my agent stage,
Yes.
to quote Chotara, those concepts do not apply. The state has a responsibility to guarantee your life.
Yes, they do.
Yes. If I'm found dead today, you understand? It is the responsibility of the state. We don't need those shenanigated arguments. And the state has the power. There are cameras everywhere. Police follow us everywhere. Police monitor our phones. They know where we are. So if I disappear for 10 minutes, the police ought to know. It's either the police who have disappeared us or they know where we are. We should not entertain that argument of evidence. No.
Why not?
It is the state. And you must take this concept very seriously. You know, let's start with Jeb Karuki. He disappeared for a few days. The state gave many explanations. But the state had kidnapped him from the Norfolk here. Everybody knows. You understand? Robert Okoh disappeared. The state gave us so many stupid explanations. Robert Okoh had been kidnapped and killed in Nakuru State Lodge. Everybody knows that. So the state should never give us this story that I do not know who has been kidnapped, who has been disappeared, who has been killed. The state knows. And that is why, and to quote the words of Latiff, Masengeli does not want to come to court. Because, you know what, I've testified in court time without number. The moment you take that Bible and swear, you will tell the truth. You will verily tell the truth. He doesn't want to come there. He will tell the truth.
Nelson, thank you for joining us today. Time has come to an end. So
I've scared the hell out of you. I'm sorry.
So what we are hearing from you is that Friday we watch out because then Masengeli is supposed to be sentenced, right? And then thereafter, you're saying that you and others in the Law Society of Kenya, you want to commence other proceedings to have him removed from office, from serving as a police officer, and then thereafter take individual action against him. Now, the question would be, you speak to the Kenyans. How can you be supported in this?
Thank you, Eric Latiff. Kenyans ought to support all of us because they have come and taken these three. They will take me, they will take you. We are the ones who constitute the state. Our eternal vigilance is important. The moment we say no, like that single zebra that said no to the lion, and we continuously say no and protect our staff, the lion will always know that 20 zebras will outmaneuver it. We must do it.
Nelson Havi, 49th President of the Law Society of Kenya, has been our guest.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.